Haha. I return to you now. The turn of the tide. Well, like, fucking so much bullshit with my computer. Anyway, I'm recording this with different software, and I might even edit it. Oh no. Oh no. I'm probably doing a bunch of crazy editing things right now. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Anyway, what I'm talking about is Metal Gear. Because, like, it's been, like, almost the whole month since MGS5 has been out. So, like, that's adequate enough time for me to have digested my experience. You know, it's pretty good time, actually. A month till full digestion. Keeping that in the back burner. Might incorporate into headcanon. Anyway, gross stuff. What I'm talking about today is not gross. It's Metal Gear, which has gross stuff in it, like creepy parasites and child soldiers. But the game itself is fun. Okay, so, like, shit's kind of gone a little bit crazy about this game. Because, like, you know, like, when it first came out, everyone was, like, the hype was maximum, you know? And like, with any hyped up game, the backlash was just as maximum. You know, like, remember back in 2006 or whenever it was, 2007, 2008, when GTA 4 came out, and it just got perfect scores out the wazoo, and then, like, a week later, everyone was like, this game is the worst game ever, or whatever. That's always what happens. The more games hyped up, the bigger the backlash is. And this game was reasonably hyped up. I don't know how much, like, in terms of the mainstream, because they don't matter. People who, like, I've made no secret that I have no respect for anyone for whom this is their first Metal Gear Solid game, or their first Metal Gear game. This is your first Metal Gear game. You're a hack, you're a charlatan, your opinion is worthless. Like Angry Joe did a review where I didn't watch it, but I know that I don't need to because I saw his Ground Zeroes review where he's like, I've never played Metal Gear Solid before. Trash. Opinion. Trash. Fuck you. You're dumb. What you think doesn't matter. What you think doesn't matter. Oh, I'm gonna tune into the last half hour of the Return of the King movie. I haven't seen Fellowship or Twin Towers, The Hobbit. I didn't see the first hour and third. I didn't actually, for Lord of the Rings, it was like I didn't watch the first 3 hours of this movie. I'm just gonna tune in right at the very end, the last half hour, the last 15 minutes of the very last movie. Well, now I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it. Fuck you. You're stupid. No one gives a shit what you fucking think, Angry Joe. If you haven't played this entire series, at the bare minimum, from Metal Gear Solid, if you want to be super legit, you gotta play the MSX games too. You gotta play Metal Gear, gotta play Metal Gear 2, then Solid, Solid 2, Solid 3, Portable Ops, again, if you want to be hardcore, then 4, and Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, then this one. It's the 10th fucking game, for crying out loud. You're gonna play the 10th fucking game and act like it matters what you think? It doesn't. It doesn't matter what you think. That being said, there have been plenty of people who it does matter what they think, who've also provided their thoughts. And their inputs have been pretty good for my own. Because, like, that's why I've had to kind of wait a little bit, because I like hearing things out, you know, like, because I've always had this thing where, like, I have thoughts, but I've always never been very good at putting my own thoughts into words. So it's always been helpful to me when other people talk about something, even if I disagree with a lot of what they say, they might say something in the middle of that, and I'll be like, got it. Like, that's a good way to put it. Like, one I can remember is, like, Scott Pilgrim and other stuff. But, like, I'm not saying, like, I'm taking, I that opinion is mine now. It's just like, you happen to say what I thought, but was incapable of finding the adequate words for. So, like, there's been plenty of that. And I've been, like, molding it. And so now I've finally got some thoughts for it. I finally got some thoughts on this game and my experiences with it as a whole. So, like, having trouble, like, deciding where to start with it, because I do have a lot of brainy thoughts. I think, like, because, like, with all of the Metal Gear Solid games, there's always kind of there's themes. You know, like, there's the themes that, like, Kojima, like, straight up tells you, like, the meme, gene, scene, sense, peace. I don't know what you might say this one is, like, pain, maybe? Naturally, because that's in the title. That is, like, one of its major themes is the one it's named after, the phantom pain. The pain of something that isn't there anymore. And there is a definite sense of that. There, like, in a couple ways. Like, for long-time because I'm not gonna say, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you this game's perfect. But I do think that the backlash against it is a little overblown. But, like, there have been legitimate grievances. Like, for example, the fact that, like, there's a lot of cut content in this game. Not to an extraneous degree. Like, people are exaggerating. There's not nearly as much cut content in this as there was for Metal Gear Solid 2, for example. Metal Gear Solid 2 was half a fucking game. You open that box up, there's like half a CD in there. It's just been split in half because they didn't finish it. That game was straight up unfinished. Like, people talk about this game like, oh, well, they cut the ending. That's it? Fucking, that's like still 90% more than what fucking Metal Gear Solid 2 had, for crying out loud. Y'all spoiled little bitches. You don't remember what it was like. Okay? You don't fucking remember. Like, the reaction to this game is a pretty good indicator of what it would have been like if we had the internet as it exists now, back when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out. Because, like, the opinion on Metal Gear Solid 2 has kind of turned by now. In the 10 fucking years since it came out, people have finally been like, okay, that was pretty good, because they have enough distance from it. But at the time, people were infuriated. Like, they were pissed the fuck off. Like, this? We waited however many years for this? This is the sequel to fucking Metal Gear Solid, the defining game on the PlayStation console? This is what you're giving us? Fuck, like, people were upset. And, like, again, some of that was overblown, but there were legitimate grievances. Way more than with this game. I'm gonna try not to get sidetracked and start talking about Metal Gear Solid 2. Because I can talk about Metal Gear Solid fucking 2. But, like, I'm just bringing it up to contextualize people's opinions about this game. And how I think it's a little silly. Because, again, it's not nearly as bad as Metal Gear Solid 2 was. But the reactions are similar. You know, people are going like, oh, like, you're reading too deep into it. It's full of shit. The story's nonsense. There isn't even a story. Cut content, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty much the same thing, but I think it's, again, like, MGS 2, I'm gonna keep saying it, was unfucking finished. Like, this game is fine. It's, like, God, what are you complaining about? Like, you don't know how good you fucking have it, son. Jesus. But yeah, like, there is cut content in this game. No one's denying that. Green Coke. Green Coke. No one's denying that. But it's been overblown. Like, I'm gonna try and break down what we know so far. We know for a fact that Mission 51 was cut. That's it. Shut the fuck up, Skype. We know that Mission 51 was cut. And that's it. We don't know why it was cut. We don't know who cut it. We don't know at what stage in the development process it was cut. We don't know. For all we know, Kojima cut the game, cut that chapter. Like, everyone's blaming Konami, we don't know. And we'll probably never know the full story. By the way, that incorporates into one of the other themes of this game that I noticed that I appreciate. Because it's one of those, like, meta things, and, like, analyzing these games on a meta level has always been one of my favorite things to do. Like, yeah, there's cut content, and you can feel it. You can feel it while you're playing this. Like, there was a hole here. It's gone now. There was supposed to be something, and it's not here. So, like, you can kind of feel that. Like, there's a phantom pain. The pain of there should have been more game. They ran out of game. There should have been more. You know? Like, the phantom pain of what, like, this doesn't close the loop like you said. There's still a missing chink in the chain here. And then, like, in gameplay, there's Quiet, who is a really important and integral character, and she just leaves. Essentially, she dies. Like, but she basically dies, and she's just gone forever now. Like, she's gone, and I have felt that absence, the phantom pain. And then there's the Paz storyline, which I think is a good metaphor, and also works in narrative, but I think is a good metaphor for, like, players who are trying, you know, to get something back that was there but isn't there anymore. It's just a phantom. It's gone. It's not there anymore. And you were deluding yourself into thinking it would be. That's another thing. Self-delusion is a huge theme in this. Like, let's try and break down what I think the main themes of the game are. There's phantom pain, the most obvious one. There's identity and delusion, which is represented by Venom and Huey especially, and to a lesser extent Eli. And then there's my favorite one, which is language. Language is my favorite theme in this game because it's the one that directly impacts you in terms of gameplay. And it provided for this great, like, puzzle, sort of. And it was just such a great moment. Like, in all of the talks about this game, I haven't seen people talking about this part. And I wish, like, it's probably one of the best parts in the game. It deserves to be talked about. I wish people would start talking about it more because it's so great. So, like, basically what happens is there's parasites in this game. Parasites that, like, it's kind of explained weird, but the main thing is, like, it's language. They infect people based on language. So, like, say there is a strain of parasite that was tuned into, like, Polish. And that parasite, there was an outbreak and in Poland, and it started infecting people. How it works is, like, the parasite that's in that person who is infected, like, it's in their body. They're a carrier. They're like a typhoid Mary type carrier. And when they speak Polish, the parasite sort of wakes up and starts growing and laying eggs. And those eggs get transmuted through saliva. So whenever someone talks, or, like, it could be sexually transmitted, it could be transmitted through water sources, through shared food, or just through talking to someone. Like, talking to someone, shits in your droplets of saliva, gets in their fucking eyeball, they're infected. And then it even gets worse because, like, as the symptoms start to develop from the parasite inside them, it starts looking like a cold. So now they're sneezing and coughing and shit, and that's just making it worse. And then finally, they start becoming symptomatic. And what happens when you're symptomatic is, like, the parasites got to that person's lungs. And they just, like, start being fucking assholes and just going crazy. And, like, the way it's shown in game is, like, it shows up as lesions on the chest because, like, your lungs just get swollen and infected. It's just awful. Like that. That's what it looks like. I'm showing on my phone. Just like that's someone's chest, right? You can see, and just huge fucking infectious lesions growing from their lungs, from where the parasites were. And at that point, they're basically dead. It's a death sentence. Even if you have the cure, by that point, by the time they're showing symptoms, they're just fucking dead and there's nothing you can do. So, like, all that, like, there's more to it, but the basic idea is the infection breaks out on Mother Base. Because the parasite doesn't infect children because their vocal cords aren't developed enough yet, their balls ain't dropped. So they're carriers, but they're immune, basically. And so they spread the parasite because they're infected. And what happens is the language is you don't know. Like, you don't even know what's happening at first. All you know is people are just fucking getting sick and dropping dead from this parasite. And you've encountered it before. You've had encounters with these bodies that are just insanely fucked up. And you know about the parasite's existence, but you don't really know what's going on at that point. So this starts happening, and it's a real freak out because literally dozens upon hundreds of staff members are just dropping dead, and you have no idea why. And, like, it drops hints, but you're really left to figure it out on your own. And it's a really great part because, like, it's sort of a fourth wall breaking moment because it's something that's, it's not really like minute to minute gameplay. It's more like it only affects your spreadsheets, your Mother Base management. And, like, you've like, me at least, I spent hours upon hours building up Mother Base. I had a full stock. I had 1,000 people. I had 1,000 staff members. And, like, half of them were being killed, dying. Like, I had built all this shit. I was losing stuff. I was losing my ability to do stuff because all my units were leveling down because the members were just dying. And it was so, like, it gives you just enough hints, but, like, it's really fucked up because, like, what happens is then, like, when it starts getting really serious, and it doesn't take long, is they develop a quarantine platform, and you're tasked with, like, okay, try and figure out what the fuck's going on, because, like, there's people who are infected but they're not showing symptoms. Like, you gotta figure out who's infected and who's not before they show symptoms and put them in the quarantine. Because by the time they're showing symptoms, they've already spread the infection to countless other people in their unit. And, of course, by that point, it's too late because they're showing symptoms. They're basically dead. So, like, you gotta start putting people in quarantine to halt the spread of the infection. And you got to figure out what's causing it. Because you have no idea. Like, Miller's a piece of shit. Ocelot's reasonable. And the only hint you have is it's something to do with their mouth. Because there's a cutscene where Quiet attacks a guy and stabs him in the mouth for some reason, maybe trying to cut out his tongue or something. And, like, Miller naturally is a fuck nugget, but also it's like that person she attacked was one of the infected. So she knew. So you have to, like, go on, like, what did she do? She tried to stab him in the mouth. Okay, maybe it's something to do with their mouths. What could it be? What could it be? And so, like, I was flicking through the character portrait being like, are their lips similar? Like, I was like, that's pure physical. But no, like I said, but you don't know at the time, it's language. Everyone who's infected speaks a particular language because the parasite is attached to a certain language. And it's Kikongo, which is like the Congo language in Africa. So, like, everyone on Mother Base who speaks Kikongo is infected, basically, or at least at risk. And it's super interesting because, like, what's cool is, I might show this. I don't know how well you can see that, but look, every character on Mother Base speaks a language. Actually, most of them speak a lot of languages, but, like, you can go through and you can see they all have their languages listed. And if you can notice, they all have different dots on there. I don't know how well this is coming out from the webcam, but, like, they have, like, 3 dots, 2 dots, and 1 dot. And, like, the language they have that's 3 dots, that's their native language. The language they have that's 2 dots, that's something they're fluent in, but it's a second language. And then 1 dot is, like, I suppose, like, it's just rudimentary, like, you can ask where the bathroom is, sort of thing. And what you might not notice when you're playing the game, like, already that's really cool. What you might not notice is everyone starts getting bilingual. If not already, but, like, what I mean is they start learning new languages. If they're in a unit with someone who speaks a different language to them, they'll start to learn that language. They'll start to learn fucking English from someone who knows English. They'll start to learn Russian from someone who knows Russian. Like, if you keep track of it, you'll have staff members who start out knowing only one language, and then, like, another language will appear, and it'll be a single dot, and then as time goes on, it'll have 2 dots. There's a cultural exchange. They're just learning these new languages naturally from working alongside people who know those languages. Or you could even think like they're teaching each other their languages to help ease communication. And, like, that's fucking incredible. Like, on its own, that's amazing. How many fucking I can't think of a single one where a language that you're like people that your fucking dudes know is a fucking attribute on their stat sheet. And not only that, but they can learn new languages. That's so fucking awesome on its own, but then it gets incorporated into the infection. Because people who don't know Kikongo will start to learn Kikongo. And then, like, they'll become susceptible to infection. Someone who didn't have Kikongo on their language list, when the infection started, by the time you get through and figure out the answer, you might go through and they'll have a little dot on Kikongo. Because they'll have learned rudimentary language, and that means they have been fucked by the parasite because they know the language now. Even if it's just a few words, that's enough. And it's like, holy shit. language is contagious. Like, dude, that's so fucking cool. And it ties into the fucking, thing about Skullface's motivation as well, because he's got a...
In his eyes, the greatest symbiotic parasite the world's ever known isn't microbial. It's linguistic. Words are what keeps civilization, our world, alive.
Boom, right there. The major motivation of the villain. One of the running themes of the game. Language, lingua franca, its applications, how it affects our culture, how it affects humanity. Right there, demonstrated in a tangible way, in a way that directly affects the player. And again, leaves you with an absence, because I lost half my staff. I had 1,000 guys. I lost half my staff. I felt the phantom pain of their absence. That's a fucking fucked up infection. When you think about it, like, damn. That's a major outbreak. Like, half a population being wiped out. That's devastating. These parasites are fucked up. But yeah, like, just an amazing moment. People need to be talking about that. It's such a good moment. People need to be fucking talking about it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite moment of the game, but it was fucking incredible. Especially in retrospect. It's just, anyway. Fucking not anyway. It's so good. But anyway. So, like, another kinda when we get to the meta of the game, I'm like, this is something that Super Bunny Hop kind of put in my mind. Like, I disagreed with a lot of what he said in his video about this game, because, like, he was like, hey, Big Boss is a demon, and it's like, when you step back and look at it, not really. When you, like, I kind of put this into my thoughts when I watched the Jeremy Johns video on this game, where he was like, Big Boss never really became a demon. He never became a bad guy. I mean, like, he's done morally reprehensible things. But, like, in this series, there's no such thing as black and white, good and evil. You know? Like, he's not a hero, certainly. But he's not a villain. He's not a demon. But what happened is history remembered him that way. The history of this series. The first couple games. The games on the MSX. The Metal Gear Solid 1. Those games are like... Those are the games where Big Boss's villainy was sort of established. And in context now, you can say, like, those were the history books that the Patriots had written. The Patriots wrote Big Boss as the villain because he opposed them. And even, like, and like, that worked for a while, but then they realized, like, he was a charismatic individual, and a lot of people were attracted to him as the legendary mercenary. So then they kind of let word of his missions get out, and then, like, he became this, like, really substantial figure. But, like, anyway, like, that's, like, kind of, like, I don't like interpreting these games literally, because, like, when you look at Metal Gear Solid 4 and the way, like, the Big Boss became, like, famous in universe because they declassified his file, and now all of the dudes are doing cookie cutter CQC, like, that's dumb in universe, trying to, like, make it make sense, but, like, as a meta commentary, it makes sense, because it's representing us, the players, and how we started to look at Big Boss as a hero, and started to emulate him, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, it's like, these games don't make sense when you take them literally. So, like, forgive me for my self-contradictions, because it's stupid. It's not supposed to make fucking sense. But anyway, he's not a villain. That's my point here. He just was written as a villain by the Patriots But when you see the truth of what happened, he remains sympathetic, if, questionable. So, it recontextualizes things, because, what do we actually see him do, right? What do we see Big Boss do in those old games? The world got rid of all its nukes. In Metal Gear, in Metal Gear 2, the world has abolished all nuclear weapons. Then the oil crisis happened, but then the guy, Dr. Petrol, I think it was Petrovic. I don't think it was Manar. Yeah, Petrol. Dr. Petrol created, artificial oil and saved the world from the oil crisis. So the world of Metal Gear has solved the oil crisis. But then Zanzibar Land kidnapped Dr. Petrol and made him work for them. And then Zanzibar Land revealed, we got a nuke. Fuck you. Stay away from us. Oh, they declared themselves a dominant superpower. But when you look at it, what they do is Big Boss created Outer Heaven in Zanzibar Land, had a nuke as a deterrent, and an synthetic oil thing so that they wouldn't need to rely on foreign oil. He was trying to create the world that the boss had envisioned, and when you think about it, he could have even been doing Solidus's thing of using a nuke to take out the Patriots. Solidus's plan in Metal Gear Solid 2 and Liquid's in Metal Gear Solid 4, that could have been what he was trying to do. Use the nuke to take down the AI. Although it's arguable because, like I said, it's dumb to take it literally. Well, again, he didn't really do anything. He wasn't doing anything villainous. And when you get to Zanzibar Land, he's taking in child soldiers who have been orphaned on the battlefield, but they're not being used as child soldiers. They're just orphans. They're kept as war orphans and being taken care of. And it's stated when they come of age, he enlists them, but he's not using them as child soldiers. He's technically giving them a pretty good life after their old one had been taken away from them by the battlefield. And then you reach him, and he's like, Snake. And what does he say? He says a lot of shit that sounds like what the boss said. There can only be one boss and one Snake. The survivor will go on to remain on the battlefield in this endless war. It's weird how those lines that said in the confrontation at the end of the MSX game mirror the ones said at the confrontation in the Metal Gear Solid 3 game. So what happens is the confrontation at the end of Metal Gear 2 mirrors the ending of Metal Gear Solid 3. And what does that mean? It means the big boss has become the boss, where he was betrayed by his team, by the Patriots, and they sent his protege, his son, in to kill him. I think a revelation that should be taken away from this is Big Boss isn't the villain that was promised. That's another Phantom Pain. We expected to finally see Big Boss become the villain, but he never was the villain in the first place. That was just our warped perception of him. What the Patriots want us to know was he was a bad guy, but then we saw the truth from his perspective in Metal Gear Solid 3, and we see the downfall, but it wasn't really a downfall. So yeah, on that point I disagreed with Super Bunny Hop about Big Boss becoming a bad guy. I don't think so. And Venom Snake being aggrandized. I also don't know about that. I think he goes nuts. But what he raised was, because I talked about it before with the twist, is you are Venom Snake. You are Big Boss. Big Boss is you. You are him. Big Boss is you, the player, who has allowed this, who has supported this story up to this point. And he is the character who exists in this universe, who becomes the Big Boss in the later games. Who is the Big Boss in the later games. Anyway. And then he said, if Big Boss is an analog for the player, then Zero is an analog for Kojima. And that woke up thoughty brains in my thought brain head. Because he was more right than I think he realizes. Because what this game reveals about Zero is that Cypher, like, he created Cypher, but it got out of his control, and it started doing things he didn't want. Sort of like Kojima, who created Metal Gear. And it built up Konami. Metal Gear is one of Konami's flagship franchises. It is a pillar of their company. But now Konami has gotten away from him. It started doing bad things out of his control until it finally turned against him. His own creation, really, when you think about it, Konami owes its current existence to Kojima. And now it's turned against him, and it has destroyed him. His own creation has gotten out of his control, and now, like, his plans, all he can do is, like, try and save Big Boss, the player, with this final mission, which is half-baked for a lot of different reasons, but it's still the best he can do to leave us in better hands. Kaboom. Holy crap. Like, there we go. There was the meta. There was the meta. There was the meta. Kojima was Zero. Cypher is Konami. We are Big Boss. It's so great. Like, you'd have to listen to the tapes to really get a sense of what I'm talking about. It was really cool. I liked it. So yeah, a little scattershot with my thoughts here. Because, like, there's a lot of stuff to talk about where it's like, it's kind of like that, like, they're all trying to get out the door at the same time. But, you know, I think those are the important ones. You know, the identity thing when it comes to Zero being Kojima. I thought that was, like, super important. Wanted to talk about that. Haven't seen other people talk about that in that context. The language thing, which I haven't seen anyone talk about, people need to start talking about that in the Phantom Pain. Which is like, and that gets into like the minutia of like what's intentional, what's not. I don't think it matters. Like I was like kind of Super Bunny Hunt's closing thoughts, where it was like it's too easy to write off everything as like an intentional thing Kojima did. I don't think it matters if it's intentional or not, because of Death of the Author. Like, what he intended doesn't matter. All that matters is what we took away from it. That was the key point of Metal Gear Solid 2 as well, is don't try and waste so much time trying to figure out what it all meant. Just focus on what you felt while you were on this mission and take that away from it. Take away your feelings. What did it mean to you? And that's what I think people should take away from this. Don't try and spend so much time figuring out what could have been. What did it mean? Blah, blah, blah. What did it mean to you? What did Kojima mean? Who cares what Kojima meant? What did it mean to you? Were you disappointed? Okay. Were you enthralled? Okay. All I know is I've been playing this game for almost 300 hours. And I loved it. And I'm still playing it. And I love it. You can't take that away. Even if I didn't like the ending. Even if there is a shit ton of cut content. You can't take away what I felt while I was playing this game. You know, and like that driving closing thought from Solid Snake at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. Again, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 is the closest analog to this one that you can take. And, you know, like, whatever you, like, what did you, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say that people who didn't like this game were wrong. If you don't like the ending, you're wrong. But if you didn't like this game, you're not wrong. But it's interesting to me to think about, like, why they might not have liked it. You know, because, like, disappointment is when something doesn't live up to your expectations. So whether or not you were disappointed with this game really depends on what you expected from it. And I don't know what people might have expected from this game that it didn't live up to that, and that's why they're disappointed. But this game is exactly what I thought it was going to be. It met my expectations and might have even exceeded them a little bit. But it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was Peace Walker on a console. Like, that's from day one. That's what I expected it to be. Like, Peace Walker was this game that was constrained by its handheld nature. It was on the PSP, and I was like, Phantom Pain is going to be what Peace Walker would have been if it was on a console. It's Peace Walker again, but with those limits of a handheld taken away from it. And that's exactly what I got. I'm satisfied. Like, I got what, like, I looked at this game, I looked at the menu, I looked at the picture on the menu, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna get, and it was put before me, and that's what I got. I was not disappointed at all. It's hard for me, I still don't know where I rank it, though. It's difficult, because, like, when it comes to Metal Gear, I always take the whole package into consideration. Like, the Metal Gear games, like, if I had to list them out in terms of worst to best, like, worst is Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 3, Peace Walker, I know I forgot some. I would put Peace Walker above 4. I'd put it above Metal Gear 2. So it's fucking Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know where I'd put Metal Gear Solid 5 yet. I'm not sure. I've definitely played it a lot. I don't know. I haven't necessarily played it more than I played Metal Gear Solid 3. Like, I don't know where I'd put it. At worst, I would put it under Metal Gear Solid 1. I don't know. It's hard. In terms of the whole series, where it fits in, I still got not 100% digested on that one yet. But I fucking love this game. I'm not even done with it yet. Almost 300 hours. Fucking, I'm gonna hit 300 pretty soon, before the month is out. Because I think this game's fucking great. Overhyped, probably. Overrated. It's not perfect, definitely. But then why are you looking at the reviews anyway? Game journalism's corrupt and evil, and nothing they say matters. Killed fucking Jim Sterling, fucking stabbed him up the asshole with a fucking pitchfork. Like, why do you care what the reviews say? Fuck game journalists, fucking whatever. What matters is, like, what did you expect and what did you get? And I guess people expected something different. I don't know. I can't tell them what they... I don't know. All I'm gonna say is, like, fucking 300 hours, dude. I can't fucking say this game was bad for nothing. And that's my final thought. This game's great, but it's not perfect. And not in that Metal Gear way, either. Like, it's too, like, there's two kinds of perfect. There's perfect in spite of its flaws, and, like, perfect doesn't mean flawless to me. Like, Metal Gear Solid 3 is a perfect game, and that shit has fuck in it. There's some fucking shit in that fuck shit. Like, that's like not even a rough diamond. That shit's just scratched up. But I would say it's perfect. It's subjectively, objectively perfect. With all its flaws. That's a flawed-ass game, and it's perfect. This game ain't perfect, but still worth it. I don't regret any of the time I've spent with this. Again, 300 hours. Fucking A. You can't look on a game that you've been playing for 300 hours and say that's a bad game. Have you been playing it for 300 hours? Maybe that... You gotta play it a little bit more than that. I saw one guy who was like, it's just sneaking into buildings for 30 hours. I'm like, 30 hours? You only played it for 30 hours? Fucking beat the tutorial first. Goddamn. It's been so interesting, like, watching the fucking communal opinion form on this. Frustrating, but interesting. All I can say is it's Metal Gear. Still Metal Gear. What's the future gonna be from here? I don't know. Konami's not gonna no longer make AAA games. That was a rumor that got out of control because, again, game journalism is bullshit and everyone's a fucking idiot. No, like, they squashed that. They came out and said, like, we're gonna keep making AAA games, retards. So, like, what's the future of Metal Gear from here? I wouldn't mind a Metal Gear 1 remake. I don't know if that's gonna happen. If that's even in, like, the world of possibility to happen, but I wouldn't mind one. You know, like fucking Twin Snakes was a remake. Kojima wasn't in charge of it. It's like they could be good. And you know what? Like Kojima for a long time has said like I don't want to make Metal Gear anymore. I want to leave it to the next generation to make it. But he couldn't let it go. You know? He's a little bit of a control freak, you know, he's a little bit of a diva. He couldn't settle for less than his version of perfect. And they weren't living up to that standard of his own, so he kept coming back. And now he has no choice. Now none of them have any choice. In a way, this is a blessing in disguise as a curse. Because now the new generation of developers will get to make Metal Gear games. Just like he always wanted. And he has to make something new. He can't make Metal Gear anymore. And that's what he always wanted. He hated making these games. He hated being limited and constrained to having to make Metal Gear Solid for the rest of his life. And now he can make whatever he wants. He can go off and make a whole new IP now. He kind of has to if he wants to keep making games. Blessing in disguise, I say. You know, like... It's easy to be pessimistic about the future. I don't see how Kojima not being allowed to make Metal Gear games anymore is a bad thing, personally. You know? Like, it's not like he's dead. He's probably going to still make games. Hopefully. And they'll be new. And they'll be Kojima. You know? So, like, yeah. Nothing to be cynical here about, to me. Like, game's great. The future is bright, if cloudy. I have new fucking recording software to video edit and shit. Might go back to doing gameplay stuff that I can edit now. And record my audio separately so I can do mixing and shit. Yeah. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fine, guys. Like, quell your pessimism for a little bit. Life's gonna be good. We'll see. I'm confident. See you next time.